most crazy thing going on the internet right now, which is the documentary about the American Next Top Model. I'm not going to do like a deep dive into like every episode, but I'm just going to mention like some key moments, like things that we should know, that we should learn about, because as probably some of you, I watched this show when I was like 10, maybe 10, 11, 12. Not really sure, but I was like super young, super clueless. In comparison to some of the people that have been discussing this on YouTube, I didn't really feel very impacted by the show. It was just exciting to see like photo shoots, how things happen behind the scenes. Be happy for some of the contestants. It wasn't really a big thing for me. I didn't really think too much out of it. But I must say that the image that I have now of Tyra Banks has changed a lot. I used to see her as this like nice, positive person, but since I saw the documentary, the image that I have of her changed completely. Before the documentary came out, I saw a little like trailer, or I don't know, I saw something on the internet mentioning that it was going to come out, and I was thinking to myself, this is probably a documentary that they are going to say a bunch of negative things about the show. I don't think she's going to be on it because it wouldn't make much sense, because most documentaries about shows is normally to criticize, is never to say something positive. So I was a bit like, really? When the documentary came out and I watched it completely, I thought, oh, this is bad. This is very bad. I never actually care to watch all the seasons of American Next Top Model because, life was happening. I was moving to live in a different country. I had other priorities. But I did miss a lot of the things that have happened, and I didn't sit again to watch it fully to see exactly what's going on. But I always had like a positive image of the show. And it's just now that I know some of the things that happen, and I'm like, it's really bad. It's really bad. It's really bad to think that this kind of show normally brings in a bunch of young girls, and they're still like maturing. They're still trying to understand how to protect themselves, how to defend themselves. They're trying to just learn how to be women and to be these exposed, and having like adults like Tyra Banks and like producers and so on just taking advantage of your immaturity to exploit you. That's awful. That's really awful. So I found this article on The Guardian which mentions a few things I wasn't really aware of. So it says that the documentary Reality Check has drawn more than 14 million viewers in the first week that the show came out on Netflix. So obviously Netflix is just profiting from this, profiting on top of damaging the image of Tyra Banks, pretty much. So Banks received no questions in advance over her 4-hour interview. She had no powers of like approval over how she was going to be presented, and she only watched the documentary at the same time as us. So when the documentary came out, then she kind of realized, oh, this looks bad. According to Reality Check's directors, Bank was told that the docuseries would happen with or without her involvement. She agreed to an interview just to give her side of the story, but that was that. This is really interesting because after watching the show, I didn't know all of this before. So after watching the show, I did think, what the hell is this woman doing? It makes no sense to come up on a docuseries that is going to say negative things about you. Well, in a way, I thought, maybe what she's trying to do is just to clean her image, as most people do, really. Just find something to make themselves feel good. But she looks bad on the docuseries. The entire world, even the people that didn't know about not about the existence of the show, but people that did never consider even watching the show. Now they know that all these things happened. We have a lot of interviews with different models, with different opinions, a lot of it mostly bad. I didn't really, I have to be honest, I didn't really care to pay attention to the models that were saying positive things, because if your colleague is having an extremely bad experience, or multiple contestants have had horrendous experience, you can't really just be, oh, just because I was there and I managed to be successful after the show, then it was something very good and positive for me. Yeah, being good and positive for you does not mean that it was great for the rest of the world, you know. Anyway, so I wanted to move on to discuss some of the most horrendous moments on this show. That actually, a lot of them I didn't even see. So there was this race swapping photo shoot. So models had to pose as women of different ethnicities. This happened on season 4, and then it happened again on season 14. So season 4, they didn't realize it was a bad idea because they definitely decided to do it again, which doesn't make much sense. It just feels like most of these people are like tone deaf. They just care about how many viewers are going to actually tune in to see these silly photo shoots, rather than not even thinking about the impact of the things that they are doing. Then we had homeless theme photo shoot, in which real life homeless people were used as background. How is this even allowed? We also had another photo shoot mocking models. So models that suffer from like bulimia and anorexia. So they would have these models mimicking this idea of like people like vomiting. They would have like photo shoot with like fake vomit, which is pretty disgusting, and I don't know again how that was allowed to be on the show. Then we have one of the contestants, Dion Walters. She was part of a photo shoot where models had to pretend to be murder victims on the scene. The problem was that Dion, she mentioned during the documentary that production was quite aware that her mother unfortunately was like shot and she was like paralyzed. So she was pretty much, in that photo shoot, she was pretty much like feeling like her mother in that situation, which could be probably a huge traumatizing moment for her. And I don't know how she can like move on from this, because how can you recreate something bad that happened to your parent? It's disgusting. Then we have Sandy Sullivan. She was filmed. So they went to Milan, and she was filmed while drunk and while she was, getting involved physically with a man. The problem was that she had a boyfriend back home, and she ended up calling the boyfriend to like explain what happened. All of this was filmed without even considering her emotions, without considering the fact that maybe she was drunk and she wasn't like really aware of what she was doing, or if she was aware, maybe we are not sure if she like gave consent to what was happening. And even if all of that happened, I think production could at least think, okay, maybe we need to bring like a therapist, somebody that could talk with her and help her to understand what happened and make sure that mentally she was like in a good place, because just exploiting the girl and showing no concern for how she feels it's quite disturbing. I am aware that they probably do this in every reality show, because reality show is pretty much for the public to make fun of and for the public to tune in. It's never about what is going to happen to the contestants when they come out of the show. It's never about like the backlash that they may receive, the bullying that they get like online, or in her case in the streets, because when she went back, her and the boyfriend at the time, they tried to continue together, but apparently people were like because people recognize her in the street, they would call her names. So, she was pretty much being attacked by people just because, everybody's aware of what happened. Quite disturbing. And then we had another contestant, Kenya Hill. It's beautiful, by the way. She complained about being sexually harassed by a male model, and this is shown, like the photo shoot is kind of shown to us during the documentary, so we can see that she's not feeling comfortable, or that she thought that not just production, but the people that are there, the photographers, they would do something about it. But it seemed like, oh no, stop complaining, we paid for this photo shoot, this is super expensive, let's just get it done and move on. Quite disrespectful and pretty disgusting, to be honest. Then we have the case of two of contestants, Daniel Evans and Joni Dodds. They both were asked to undergo dental surgery as part of their makeover. For me, this feels quite forced. There should be a limit to these makeovers, because yes, maybe the contestant is going to be looking more like high fashion, but changing physically something like your teeth, it has a very big impact on how you feel. And even if it's something that is meant to be positive, enforcing that into somebody and saying things like, if you don't get it done, you're not going to be part of the show anymore, I think that's quite abusive. I don't know how these girls didn't take the Tyra Banks, the courts, or even the production company behind this, because again, it will be a costly thing to do, but producers should be ashamed for allowing this kind of thing to happen. Then the last case I want to mention is Danielle. She said that after appearing on the show, she didn't really get many opportunities to do modeling. She said they actually closed doors for her in the industry. As designers, they didn't want it to have somebody that appeared on a reality TV, because they would think that the person would take attention away from the clothes, which is very interesting, because now we are living something that's completely different. It's almost, you can no longer be a model, you're not going to be scouted in the same way. People want you to be popular on the internet so that then you are able to appear on their shows. How the industry has changed. Looking at her during the documentary and thinking, this woman is beautiful. How did she not manage to be successful, having like a successful model career? It's incredible. And another thing that surprised me a lot, because again, I didn't watch every season or like every episode, so I wasn't aware of all these changes that happened when the show wasn't as popular anymore. So we had the former judges. We have Jay Manuel. He said that after he decided to leave the show, so he wasn't really like a judge, he was the creative director. Once he reached a point where he felt he wanted to leave the show and he informed Tyra, she stopped engaging with him at all. She just cut the relationship completely and didn't really care about like how he felt or what kind of plans he had for his future. Then we have Jay Alexander, the suffered a stroke in 2022. He spent 5 weeks in a coma and had to learn how to talk and to walk. Apparently Tyra only sent him a message. She never visited him, she never did a checkup on him. And if you've been with these people for such a long time, they've been part of your show and they made your show as popular as it was, for you to completely disconnect from them, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. I don't know, I wouldn't even consider a reconciliation. It's very clear that she only cared about the success of the show. And yes, as she claimed a few times, the show was like her baby. It's all she cared about. It was, the other thing that she was doing beyond like modeling, so it was quite important for her. But just because it's your dream, it does not mean that people have to also want to continue being your dream. There's ways to go around, and she could not easily, but find replacements over time, and the public would really accepted nicely. I don't understand why she decided to just cut relationship with these people. And then we had the photographer as well, Nigel Banks. I don't think in terms of like relationship he cared too much about it. It was mostly because all three of them were fired at the same time without like prior notice. They got to know that they were fired as the rest of the world, which shows little respect and little professionalism really. She mentions on the show that they probably think that she's the one that fired them, but that decision came from a person that was like above her. But I don't know, I personally feel that she didn't fight for them. These people are like the backbones of the show. To feel that you give so much of your time and effort to work for like a company, whatever it is that you do, and the day they decided to fire you, they just dump you without even realizing that you are a person, you have feelings, you have bills to pay. It's incredibly disrespectful. Now I'm glad that this documentary was made, because if it wasn't for this documentary, I wouldn't even know half of the things that happened. It kind of brings a little bit of a light to what happens to people that are involved in these kind of shows, what happened to the people that are actually participating on the show and being like judged. Because I see a lot of these shows, reality TV shows, you know, the Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, and so on. And you see there are always people that suffer like a huge backlash on like the real world, and nobody really thinks or measures the impact of this. I've read about people that lost their jobs. Obviously, because you're on the TV, your reputation goes like south completely. You almost have to rebuild yourself. I read about contestants that they had to do therapy to recover from like what happened to them, because there's a lot of bullies online. Even though we may dislike some people, I think attacking them online is quite excessive and not necessary, and we don't really know the consequences of these attacks. So let's keep our mind open to the things that happen on these shows, as in let's keep our eyes open and let's call out the bad things, and at the same time let's be wary of the way we criticize people online, because we don't know what is going to happen. And people, a lot of times, even the people that look good on shows, they may surprise us negatively. At least that's what I learned with Tyra Banks. You know, let's leave the discussion open, so leave your comments on the section below. I hope you liked this video. See you next time. Bye!